Hey there folks, this is Lucifer Lakeborn coming back at you with another video. These videos sometimes come out very sporadically because, well, and they seem to be going out further and further apart, mostly because I struggle to find content for YouTube. I've covered so much, but I got a good one for you today. And this is sort of going out to idiot atheists at the Church of Satan who keep on wanting to claim that LaVey was an atheist. And a lot of them like to hoot and holler at me and STS members and throw up these articles that LaVey commented on or whatnot, where he says Satan was a symbol and not an anthropomorphic being. Well, I've finally broken down and I'm addressing this topic directly. And not only that am I addressing it here, I've addressed it in the new edition of the Cloven Hoof. You guys can get this copy off of our website, satanicthuliansociety.com. And what is this topic? Well, it's right here. Is Satan an anthropomorphic being? I'm going to go into something that LaVey says, because he says it in numerous sources, so I'm only going to cite one source. And this source was in an interview in 1973. It was an audio interview for an audio documentary called Occult Explosion. And LaVey was interviewed near the end of it. You can actually find the audio interview, the audio documentary, here on YouTube. And I'll go ahead and I'll link that to you because it's very interesting what he says. And I've always pointed out, what's also interesting is what he doesn't say. Now, before I get into this, I'm going to warn people. The ongoing argument that LaVey was an atheist is centered around things that he said where Satan was seen as a symbol, a metaphor, and other things that he was not seen anthropomorphically. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tell people he's correct. Satanists do not see Satan as an anthropomorphic being. And I'm going to get into why we don't see him as an anthropomorphic being, and how that doesn't change the fact that we're still theistic, that we can still believe in a very real Satan and whatnot. We don't need him to be anthropomorphic. And I'm going to explain what I'm talking about just after I read this quote by LaVey. Now, this is from Occult Explosion in 1973, and yes, my infamous floorboard is creaking and cracking all over the place. It's very sturdy. Anybody who's been with the channel will know that they hear it going all the time. I sometimes get emails complaining about this thing. Nothing I can do about it. So, going back to this, LaVey wastes no time expressing this view. So it's right within the very first few sentences, actually, right within the very first sentence of his commentary. And what it says, and this is quoting LaVey, Satan is to us a symbol, rather than an anthropomorphic being. Although many members of the Church of Satan, who are mystically inclined, would rather or would prefer to think of Satan in a real anthropomorphic way. Now, he goes on to say, of course, we do not discourage this, because we realize that for many individuals, a picture, a well-wrought picture of their mentor or of their tutelary divinity is very important for them to conceptualize ritualistically. It's very important to understand those two statements. Now, people are trying to run around saying Satanism is about atheism, that Satan to Satanists doesn't exist, that they don't believe in all that hooey. He just said that they do. That there are people within the Church of Satan that do see Satan as an anthropomorphic being. Why is that? Now, for the higher grade Satanists, for the people who have been in it for a long time, no, we don't see Satan as an anthropomorphic being. We do see him as a real entity, but we do not see him as an anthropomorphic being. And there is a very good reason for this. LaVey wasn't wrong when he says that we do view Satan as a symbol of man as himself. You know, and that's not an untrue statement. It's very true. But the atheists like to twist everything out of context. The first big key thing, one day I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do this and I'm going to show people this little interesting thing, that in none of Anton LaVey's writings, in none of his books, his primary books, and if he's going to say it anywhere, you would expect it to be there. In none of his primary books, none of his writings, none of his articles and whatnot, at no time in any of his interviews does he ever say, I am an atheist. He never calls himself an atheist. And I point this out because Peter Gilmour doesn't have any problem saying, I'm an atheist. He uses that exact phrasing. He used it in his own book. And one of these days I'm going to make a video showing how people can see this. It's really not all that hard. I can even tell it to you how to do it now. Go get a PDF copy of Gilmour's books and go get the underground edition of the Satanic Bible that has, hell, you don't even need the underground edition. Just get any edition of the Satanic Bible in PDF format. I say the underground edition because that has everything in it, plus a little bit of extras. But that requires a little bit more work, and I'm going to explain that right now. You get all of LaVey's books in PDF format, and they're open and free on the internet. You can go do that. No one's going to stop you. No one's going to yell at you or anything if you go and do that. And what you do is you open it up in your PDF file of your be it Adobe or whatnot, and you hit Control F. Control F. And you type in atheist, not atheist, atheist. You leave the T off. And I'll tell you exactly why. Because if you do it in like Adobe or whatnot, you'll get a drop-down list of all the different words that have that set of letters in it. And it'll give you a word count, and you can click on it, you can skip to the next word, you can do whatever. And you can see all the times it's mentioned. And when you look at it in the Satanic Bible, it's mentioned in the current edition of the Satanic Bible like 3-4 times. And almost every single one of those is in Peter Gilmour's introduction. It doesn't show up in either one of Burton Wolf's introductions, nor Michael Aquino's introduction. And it only shows up one time in the main body of Anton LaVey's text, in the Satanic Bible, and that's referencing Christian atheists and criticizing them. Yet Peter Gilmore brings it up like 3-4 times in short order in his introduction. It's very important to note that. And it almost, I think out of the rest of LaVey's books, LaVey only mentions atheists and atheism like 1 or 2 more times by word. And at no time does he say, I am an atheist. When you look into Peter Gilmore's book, in Gilmore's Satanic Assertions, which can be found in his book, one of the assertions that he says an atheist says is, I am an atheist. Okay? So this is the argument now. STS has solidly knocked down almost every argument. So now they're reaching out for LaVey beating around the bush and saying Satan was only a symbol in order to prove that he was an atheist. No. In order to prove a person was an atheist, why don't you just let that person say they're an atheist? We Satanists don't view Satan as an anthropomorphic being. That is a true statement. The higher ranking members of our religion don't see Satan as an anthropomorphic being. We do indeed at times see him as a symbolic being, but we also acknowledge the fact that he has the ability to take on an anthropomorphic form. Now wait a second, I just said something very interesting there. Satan has the ability to become anthropomorphic if he so wishes to, or he can be a symbolic entity if he so wishes to. What's going on here? Let's first address what anthropomorphism is. Anthropomorphic references anything, be it a fictional character, a deity, an animal, that we ascribe human-like characteristics to. Now, what is human-like characteristics? Well, let's take a look at some animated characters. Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, Scrooge McDuck. I actually have a very interesting picture of Scrooge McDuck in here. Look at Mr. Scrooge McDuck here. He is an anthropomorphic character. What makes an anthropomorphic character? An anthropomorphic character has hands, like us. It could be plus or minus a few fingers. They move like us. They speak like us, even if they're an animal. They think like us. They have desires, goals, and ambitions like us. My son really enjoys watching Pup Academy, okay, on Netflix. And in it, the dogs, because it's part of the Air Bud thing, the dogs can all talk. They think in human-like methods. They have human-like goals and ambitions, even though it's in doggy form. This is anthropomorphism. Satan, even by Anton LaVey's own admittance, and what he would say is that Satan is this undercurrent of energy to the world. Almost kind of like the Force from Star Wars, though LaVey never called it that. He just called it this dark undercurrent of energy. Well, energy doesn't have an anthropomorphic form. It's very difficult to even see energy, but it's present at all times. It's present in the camera that I'm recording on. It's present in the fan next to me, in the lights above me. It's present within our bodies. Our own bodies give off an electromagnetic field. All physical objects, doesn't matter if it's a piece of paper, a magazine, or whatever goes in it, the staples on the binding, even the ink on the page, or if it's a crystal ritual knife. all these objects around us have energy that vibrates on different wavelengths. So Satan is energy. He's this dark undercurrent of energy. Even calling Satan a him is applying an anthropomorphic form to him. But Satan is not anthropomorphic in its natural state. Satan is energy. Satan can still be conscious, can still have goals and ambitions, though we may not understand them. When I say that he can take on an anthropomorphic state, or be a metaphor, or be a symbol, I'm not taking away anything from him, because he is a deity. What is a deity? It's interesting that I also happen to have the definition of deity in this same article. Understanding the definitions of things is very key to understanding a lot of things in what we do. So when we go to the encyclopedia, we understand two things. That a deity, when we type in deity in encyclopedia.com, we come up with the whole thing. And I challenge you guys to go do it. And it says, deity, as a symbol, a deity represents the human struggle at its highest. Now, when I looked this up, this is the very first thing that I saw underneath the definition of deity from encyclopedia.com. A deity represents the human struggle at its highest. It represents humanity's efforts to discover its identity in confrontation with the limits of its universe. Deity is a symbol of what transcends the human being and the symbol of what lies hidden most deeply within. So here's what we're saying. What this is saying here is a deity is a symbol. Okay? Just bear with me. While other creatures merely accept their environment as a given, human beings exist as such only when they realize both their solidarity with the universe and their distinction from it. In the journey towards self-identity, humanity encounters deity. In a cross-cultural context, deity symbolizes the transcendence of all the limitations of human consciousness and the movement of the human spirit towards self-identity. Through its encounter with the ultimate, deity symbolizes humanity's knowledge that it is not alone nor the ultimate master of its fate. And yet this knowledge, dim though it may be, associates humanity with the same deity. Deity both transcends and envelops humanity. It is inseparable from humanity's awareness of its own identity, and yet is always elusive, hidden, and for some, seemingly non-existent. Wow! Okay, that is from the Encyclopedia Britannica website, and that is the very first thing that pops up when you type in deity. What is a deity? This is the first thing that pops up. It's not the only thing, and I know that is very confusing because it's a lot to take in. So I added in another part, and polemic usage. I'm not going to go into what polemical is, but it says polemical usage. At the same time, deity is also a polemical word. It has sometimes stood against some conceptions of God without rejecting the divine altogether. The philosophical deism of the last century in Europe, which developed the concept of the divine more congenial to the natural sciences emerging at the time than the idea of a personal God, could serve as an example. All right, so what this all says is the term deity is a polemical word, and it references how we see things as a symbol, a representation, a fictional representation of us. Now, here in STS, we acknowledge Satan as an egregore, a living thought form. Some might call him a tulpa. And that formulates right with what Anton LaVey was saying about things, a dark undercurrent of energy. This undercurrent energy can take on whatever shape it's put in. It can go into any sort of container and take on that shape. It can be allowed to take on whatever form it needs to take to do whatever. There is a word for this. And deity, Satan being a deity, can fit directly in this. He can be both a symbol of man's carnal nature, a metaphor, as most deities usually are. They take on multiple aspects. Or he can even be anthropomorphic. Why would he take on an anthropomorphic form? Well, it's kind of hard for us to conceptualize what a deity might actually look like. When we look into the Lovecraftian deities, they don't look humanoid at all. They're definitely not anthropomorphic beings. They are these big cosmic monsters. And when we look at the description of what angels look like, they look like something out of an H.P. Lovecraft story, where they're these big cosmic monsters. So we ascribe an anthropomorphic form to these deities most often, so they can be palatable to us. I mean, this right here, being a demon or a devil or whatnot, however you might want to take it, would be much more palatable to our mind than to see something with tentacles coming out of its forehead, if it even has a forehead, 1,000 eyes, or what we describe as eyes, and 1,000,000 mouths. Its voice might melt us. It would drive us completely insane. I mean, if we were looking into the Lovecraftian description of things, that's what the Lovecraftian deities are like. I mean, even the angelic forms of angels, they describe that, to perceive God or to perceive one of these angels would be beyond the human concept, and it would just melt our brains. So, yeah, we ascribe an anthropomorphic form that is more palatable to us, that we can associate with. We can empathize with that. So what is the word that best suits Satan? It's not anthropomorphic. We don't see Satan in the higher ranks as having arms, legs, a face, or whatnot. No, we ascribe that because it's fun. All right, we ascribe that because it makes it easy for us to digest that. What we view Satan as is this current of dark energy, an unseen energy, an invisible energy force. We don't even really think about what it might look like because, well, that's beyond our understanding. We acknowledge that. But there is a word for what Satan is. We don't see Satan as anthropomorphic. We ascribe the word transmutable to Satan. Satan is a transmutable entity. What does transmutable mean? Again, I actually have the definition. So, transmute. And this one will not take up more than a few seconds. Synonyms: transmute, transmuted, transmuting, transmutable. It's a transitive verb. So the first definition, to change or alter in form, appearance, or nature, and especially to a higher form. All right. And then it goes, number 2, to subject something such as an element to transmutation. So basically what this is saying is transmutable means Satan can change his shape. He can change his looks. He can change his appearance to fit whatever he needs. Satan as a transmutable entity does not necessarily mean he is anthropomorphic. Doesn't mean that he can't show up as anthropomorphic if he needs to. Or it doesn't mean that he can't be visualized in an anthropomorphic sense. Some people need to see a horned, hooved, hands and feet, red devil in order to have a good picture of Satan. In order to achieve their conceptualization for ritual. LaVey said it right there. We don't discourage that. I don't have a problem with people want to say that they've seen Satan. I don't have a problem with people want to say that they've seen angels, demons, God. This is part of their mind, and it's something that they needed in order to affix on and understand what they're seeing. So is Satan anthropomorphic? No. Satan is not an anthropomorphic being. To make him anthropomorphic, if he was anthropomorphic, he would be locked into one form. Satan can take on, at least in LaVeyan Satanism, Satan can take on many different forms, and has. From Set to Lucifer to Belial, and most recently Cthulhu, or Nyarlathotep. He is a transmutable entity. He can also be a metaphor, a concept, an idea, an ideal even. And at no point in time does he lose any of his deific qualities. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you found this very interesting. And I will be leaving a link down below to this issue of the Cloven Hoof. I hope you all go get it. It is a good issue. We're really happy with it. And yeah, read the article there. And remember, if you like my videos as infrequently as they come up, hit that like button, hit that thumbs up button. Tell me what you think in the comments down below, and share it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. That way, whenever I do post a video, you'll know about it. Until next time, my name's Lucifer Legaborn, and I'm out of here.